Do you ever feel completely powerless against cravings? One minute you're fine, and the next you're elbow deep in a bag of chips or halfway through a sleeve of cookies, even though you promised yourself you would stay on plan. It's not a lack of willpower, and it doesn't mean you have no discipline. It's just your brain being a very normal human brain. But if you're going to get the results you want from a low-carb or keto diet, you've got to find strategies to navigate around those cravings. So today, let's dive into the biology of cravings, why they happen, and most importantly, what you can do about them. Hey everyone, this is low-carb and keto nutrition specialist Amy Berger, and you are watching Keto Without the Crazy, where I give you sane, rational, down-to-earth advice about sticking to a keto diet. So if you need someone talking about keto without the snake oil and sensationalism, you've come to the right place. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss future videos. All right, let's get into the biology of cravings. Cravings are not usually about physical hunger. They're about your brain's response to food, most especially high-carb and sugary foods, but you can absolutely crave low-carb foods, right? Peanuts, anyone? Nuts of any kind, anyone? Pork rinds, anyone? Hello. So when we eat these foods, it gives our brain that little hit of dopamine, maybe a little serotonin, these feel-good chemicals. So of course we want to eat them. And of course we associate those foods with that happy, content feeling. So it's no wonder that we crave them. Cravings are also about habits and triggers. Sometimes we get a craving just because we're in a certain place or we're performing a certain activity. Maybe you always eat something while you sit and watch TV. So your brain has made the connection. Ooh, I'm on my spot on the couch. The TV's on. Time to eat. Time for the chips. Time for the ice cream. Or maybe you stop at the same place every day on the way home from work. Or when you come home from work, you make a beeline for the fridge. So your brain has learned to associate these two things. This place, this activity, that food really has nothing to do with hunger. It has everything to do with that pattern. And then, of course, there's emotional eating. Who among us hasn't ever eaten because we were feeling lonely, tired, stressed out, bored, procrastinating? They call that procrastinating, by the way. Yeah, guilty for sure. So again, we've learned to associate food with taking away these difficult emotions, with numbing out or sort of just reducing these difficult feelings that we don't want to just sit with. And if it's as simple a matter as just reaching for some food to calm those emotions, well, why wouldn't we? Now, let's move on to how cravings trick you, because cravings love to lie to your brain, and your brain likes to believe those lies. The first lie your brain will tell you about food is that one bite won't hurt. Just one bite, right? But the problem is, it never really is one bite, right? That one bite starts lighting up all those bells and whistles in your brain immediately, making it nearly impossible to just stop at that one bite, or maybe two bites. Still kind of impossible to stop. Another lie your brain loves to tell you is very closely related to that first one, and that is that this time will be different. This time, maybe I won't finish the whole bag. This time, maybe I won't polish off the whole container. Pro tip, it's never different. Never, ever, ever. That is such a lie that your brain loves to tell you. Don't believe it, because it's never been different before, right? Now, maybe some of you might get to a point where you can have a little bit of a binge food, a trigger food. Maybe you will be able to make peace and have a small amount of something, but most of us can't get there, and most of us just have to sort of surrender, say uncle, admit that it's never going to be different, and there are certain foods that we simply have to cut out of our lives. We are better off without them. Think of them like a toxic ex. They just keep coming back, bringing their pain, bringing their misery, bringing their destruction, wreaking havoc onto your life. You are better off without them. Have the food funeral and say goodbye to those foods forever. Another trap your brain will lead you to fall into is short-term thinking. This will make me feel good. This will take the edge off. I just want a little bit. Yeah, it will taste good. It will feel good. It will take the edge off momentarily. What happens an hour later, 5 hours later, the next day, when the joint pain comes on and the migraine comes on and the skin flare-up happens and the heartburn is back? That's the long-term thinking you need to counter your brain's lie with when it's thinking just short-term, oh, this will feel so good, I just need it. Think longer term. So tell me, what foods trigger you the most? What foods call to you over and over very loudly, even though you know they're like that toxic ex and they only bring damage and destruction into your life? For me, it's peanuts and peanut butter. Not even the sugary kind, plain roasted peanuts or roasted peanuts and salt. Toxic X. Okay, so how do we deal with cravings? Cravings are going to come. I wish I could tell you that there was a way to just completely get rid of them. Some of you might be there. For some of you, a keto or carnivore diet quiets the cravings forever. For some of us, they still come back, but we can find ways to make them quieter, reduce the frequency and the intensity with which they come, and make them much easier to ignore. That's the reality, right? Even if the cravings don't go away, we can make them much easier to deal with. And so the first step in this, I think, is to balance your blood sugar. Cravings are a lot easier to handle, and frankly, they're going to come a lot less often when you are not on that blood sugar roller coaster, right? What happens when your blood sugar is tanking? You want sugar, you want chocolate, you want candy, you want cake, you want something that is probably not going to help you get to where you want to go on a low-carb or keto diet, right? So we definitely want to balance that blood sugar, and just that alone might get rid of 80% of your cravings, maybe more. Get that alone. The second thing that can help you deal with cravings is to assess the craving. Rank it on a scale from 1 to 10. 1 being that this is kind of quiet, not that big a deal. If I don't eat this thing, I'll survive. And 9 and 10, 5 alarm fire, I'm going to strangle someone if I don't eat this thing in 4 seconds. So anything, let's say 6 or below, you can just ignore. That's not that strong, not that intense a crave. Just swat it away like a fly. Just swat it away and ignore it and go about your day. I'll give you 4 strategies on how to deal with cravings. Number 1, just change your environment. Stop bringing the stuff home with you. Now, of course, this is much more difficult for those of you who live in a household where you are not the only one and the other people don't eat low carb. So their stuff is going to be there, but you can at least not bring any of it home for yourself, and make sure that you always have low carb snacks and keto friendly foods readily available for you. Cook in bulk, cook a ton ahead of time so that there's always something convenient for you to have. And I just did a video recently on my top 10 keto snacks, so check that out. I'll drop a link in the notes, but that's one way. Set your environment up for success. So even if your family's or housemates' higher carb stuff is there, you won't reach for it by default because there was nothing else for you. You have to make sure that your fridge, your pantry, your countertop, whatever, is stocked with things that can help you stay on plan. Second strategy is implement a pattern interrupt. Earlier I said that one of the things that causes cravings is simply the habit, the association between I sit in this chair to watch TV and I have my snack, or I pass this place on the way home and I stop and get something. So we just need to break that pattern. And one of my mentors, she mentions that sometimes, and this is just one example, it's as easy as sitting in a different chair. If you have your spot on the couch, that spot that's so well molded to your rear, you just kind of fall in there. We all have it. If you have that spot and your brain has that automatic association, this spot, TV, carby snack, or low carb snack, pork rind, sausage, whatever, we just sit somewhere else because your brain will say, hey, wait a minute, this isn't where we normally sit. What's going on here? And maybe the urge, the desire for the food won't be as great because you're simply doing something different. And maybe part of doing something different could be not snacking, or maybe snacking on something that's a little more keto friendly and more conducive to you reaching your goals. Strategy number 3 for dealing with the craving: press the pause button. How about installing a little delay? Some cravings disappear pretty quickly. They don't last forever. Sometimes they just kind of go away. So if you can just delay, wait 10 minutes, wait 15 minutes. You could even literally set a timer, set an alarm on your phone, and go do something else. Go clean a drawer, do a little chore, or watch TV, pick up a book, scroll through your phone, and see if that alone doesn't just make the craving go away because your brain got involved in something else. Remember, this most often has nothing to do with physical hunger. It's just your brain. So maybe if we get your brain thinking about and focused on something else, its desire, its urge for the food gets much quieter or just goes away entirely. And the 4th strategy for dealing with cravings is we've got to address the emotional side of things. If some of your sort of urgent or craving eating is because of dealing with emotions, well, we've got to deal with the emotions, right? Eating is a temporary distraction. Will it make you feel less lonely? Yeah, for 5 minutes or 15, 20 minutes, an hour, however long it takes you to finish the food. Will it maybe ease the stress, make you feel a little less stressed? Yeah, but as soon as the food is gone, the stress is still there. Your work problems are still there. Your marital discord is still there. Your financial problems are still there. Food, I wish food fixed these things. It doesn't. It merely delays them. It kicks them down the road, and they're going to come right back as soon as the food is gone. So we have to find ways to genuinely address the source of those emotions. If we are lonely, how can we find ways to be less lonely? If there's some kind of stress going on, can we relieve the stress or address the problem that's causing the stress? And, it's not easy. I'm not saying that this is easy to do, but we have to start at least by acknowledging that food is not going to help any of it. It does make your brain feel better in the very, very short term. And I think it can be helpful to tell yourself that sometimes you just have to feel the emotions. Being bored is not a crisis. Feeling sad is not a crisis. Feeling lonely is not a crisis. These feelings are uncomfortable. We don't like the way they feel. But again, food doesn't help them. And there's nothing wrong with us for having those emotions. Those emotions are allowed to be in our presence. We don't have to do anything about them, right? We don't necessarily need to find ways to make them not be here. We can just allow them to be here. You know what? I'm sad tonight. I'm just feeling sad. And I'm going to let myself feel sad, and I don't need to reach for ice cream or cookies or cake to take away the sadness or the loneliness, the boredom, whatever it is. So let's wrap things up. Cravings are not a sign that you are weak. They are a sign that you have a perfectly functioning brain, and they're a sign that years and years, probably decades, of conditioning have made it so that you have these well-worn patterns that drive you to want certain foods. The good news is you can take back control, and you really just have to start by being aware of when it's happening and why it's happening. So now I want to hear from you. What's your number one craving food, and what have you found to manage it? Share your tips in the comments because your advice might help someone else. If you found this helpful, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss more videos. Thank you for watching, and until next time, keep the crazy out of your keto.